research articles. So those articles were accessed for their quantitative data related to all 53 ingredients in Cardio Miracle. And then through some fairly complex processes, we were able to identify over 700 natural products inside of Cardio Miracle's ingredients that are called mechanisms of action. Meaning these are the natural products inside the natural foods in Cardio Miracle and the amino acids in Cardio Miracle that actually affect networks of molecules in the body. So Joe, let's go to the next slide here. So one of the things I want to, on this slide, yeah, that one right there. Yeah. So we're super excited about what this slide illustrates because we have an article, Magdalena, that's going to be published probably in the next 6 weeks under peer review right now. But I'm going to show you one of the things that was discovered pursuant to this in silico study that has never been observed in the human system before. This is totally groundbreaking science that was discovered about 6 weeks ago. What this product does is on the right side here in this little circular formation, you see this number 1 and with a green arrow. So what this indicates is that Cardio Miracle increases NO, or nitric oxide, in the body to create free nitric oxide. The method by which that nitric oxide is produced signals vitamin D3 in its inert condition in fat cells to leave the fat cells. Because I don't know if folks, if you know this, but vitamin D in its inert state is stored in our fat cells in our body. Nitric oxide that's produced by the body as a function of Cardio Miracle signals to those vitamin D molecules to leave the fat cells and find their way over to the liver to be hydrolyzed, which then turns them into activated vitamin D3. So we've seen, actually, we followed for years the number of the folks that have used Cardio Miracle. We've seen, they've reported to us their vitamin D levels have increased dramatically during short periods of time, between 30 and 60 and 90 days. Well, now we know why, because the way that nitric oxide is produced in the body as a result of this, of the Cardio Miracle ingredient list, signals, the nitric oxide signals to the vitamin D3 in the fat cells, it signals the fat cells to release those inert molecules that are then transferred over, find their way over to the liver, and they're hydrolyzed there and become activated vitamin D3. So it's endogenously produced. So this isn't like taking a supplement, D3, that then your body assimilates as a function of that exogenous or input from the exterior. We're actually storing vitamin D3 in our body in an inert state. So when that vitamin D3 becomes activated in our bodies in these two processes, numbers 2 and 3, the next thing that happens is at this level 4 and 5, the first thing that happens is what is called caveolae-mediated endocytosis. So what this means is that all of our cells have a plasma of this. The cell membrane has a plasma film on it, and vitamin D has a dramatic. When a healthy active vitamin D supply to the body helps that plasma membrane on all our cells to become very healthy. It's actually the barrier between which information is transferred in and out of the cell. And so through this process, this CME process, or caveolar-mediated endocytosis process, our cells become more able to receive more nutrition, receive more nutrients. They become more permeable in a good way to oxygen, to hydration, to nutrient supply. At the same time, one of the last things that we've seen in this cycle is you see the red arrow over here. We see a downregulation of ROSs, of the reactive oxygen species, and a downregulation of a cytokine, a massive inflammatory molecule called TGF beta, or tumor growth factor beta, which is downregulated dramatically. For example, one of the signaling, a signaler of diabetes, cancer, and other chronic inflammatory diseases is high levels of TGF beta inflammatory cells. And so one of the things that the in silico study revealed is that this cycle that Cardio Miracle induces in the body of increasing the production of nitric oxide, increasing the production of vitamin D3, causes a much more healthy plasma membrane on our cells that makes the cells healthier, then downregulates the reactive oxygenation species, the free radicals in our body, and this TGF beta inflammatory molecule, as well as another inflammatory molecule called TNF. And then you've probably heard of interleukin 6 and interleukin 1. Again, other inflammatory molecules. All of these severe inflammatory molecules are downregulated significantly when nitric oxide is produced by the endothelial cells. So that's what this bullet list identifies on the left side of the screen. And I think I told you, Magdalena, at the conference that I'd get you this slide deck so that you could share it.
Okay.
This is kind of technical. Well, this is a little technical stuff. I hope everybody's able to follow. But it's fascinating because the lead scientist on this study, Anton Fleary, actually wrote in the article that's going to be published that according to this in silico study, Cardio Miracle stops the progression of atherosclerosis and causes its regression, which is a stunning statement. That it can actually stop atherosclerosis and cause its regression, heal it. So we don't have in human clinical studies yet. We'll be engaged in those human clinical trials later this year. But this is a very good indicator of the success of that trial, because these in silico studies are so, in terms of their predictive quality, virtually similar to the predictive quality of human clinical studies. So we're very excited about that. One of the things that makes this so relevant, Magdalena, is because you asked about, well, what do we do in these times when you have these strange chimeric freak animals that scientists around the world are creating, that are the combination of either two separate live organisms that have completely separate gene sets, right? Or synthetic animals that are being created in labs, and combining those with live organisms, which is really disconcerting, but that's what's going on. Moderna actually made representations in its SEC filings that it had built, in effect, software that they can use to create any number of viruses, as many viruses as they want. And design them.
That's heavy.
Like design, we used to brag, you used to have clothing manufacturers bragging about designer genes. Well, now we have designer viruses. We have companies that can make designer viruses. So if you can think about this, after they've made a spike protein to damage the endothelial cells, and the endothelial cells are the communication interface with the blood. They're the only types of cells that make new blood vessels. They're the communication interface between the blood and all the interstitial tissue outside of the blood vessels. Now, I think most people on the call look like they're old enough to either remember World War II or read quite a bit about it. You know, on the war was lost by the Axis. Because the supply chains and communication links were disrupted. Ultimately, that's why they lost. It's because the good guys interrupted the supply chains and the communication systems. What's going on right now is the bad guys in this conflict have designed a weapon to take out the communication system and supply chain of the human body.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yep.
Different war, same plan.
Yep.
Same kind of weapon.
Yep.
So, which makes, you know, I go back to when I first heard David Martin last summer present some of the forensic patent work that he had done, and when he made a statement that we made SARS in partnership, you know, at the University of North Carolina, Ralph Barrick and Dazik, in collaboration with the Chinese, including the Wuhan lab, because that's documented. We have the irrefutable proof of that. I kind of took that personal. I got upset about it because it was intentionally created to target the communication system and supply chain of the human body. A lot of people have a lot of different symptoms. They experience a lot of different symptoms, and this helps us understand why, because the endothelial cells are everywhere in the body. Everywhere. There's not a cell in our body that is more than 3 nanometers from a capillary. And so where the design is to damage the capillaries, because the capillaries, remember, are made of endothelial cells. So the spike protein is designed to damage the supply chain and the communication chain in our bodies. So it doesn't care about what organ or what soft tissue. You know, our capillaries are ubiquitous, and the spike protein will find the weaknesses in the endothelium, where it's weakest and where it's easiest to damage. So that's why in all the forensic autopsies, they found thousands of micro blood clots throughout the body. And then subsequent, the shutdown of the blood supply to the organs. Because these spike proteins, once they're injected into us, and they're designed based on the data that we have on the mRNA. Actually, and David, he was on the Stu Peters show a few weeks ago. He told Stu Peters that this injection is designed to turn our bodies into spike protein bioweapon manufacturing facilities.
I was listening to it, yep.
And so what do we do about that? Well, you know, the studies that have been out over the last year identifying this as an endothelial disease are accurate. So the question becomes, from a rational therapeutic perspective, how can we keep our endothelium healthy? And the answer to that is, well, the endothelium needs a very specific fuel to produce nitric oxide. And as we age, you know, our ability to produce nitric oxide decreases. We can turn it around. That's the good news, is the body is a fascinating piece of machinery and art. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a function of